Just draw every day is probably the most hated art advice in the entire art community, and everyone and their grandma has heard someone say just draw every day on the internet or in real life when an artist is seeking advice from people who are better at art and are supposedly trying to help them improve with their drawings. And don't get me wrong, it sounds like pretty good advice for the most part, but every time I tried to put it into practice, I always ended up getting so frustrated with the results I was getting in my art and slowly got burnt out and lost motivation for making art entirely. And this totally has nothing to do with people telling you to draw every day, thinking it is good advice that can make you improve, since on the surface level, drawing every day seems to be the only logical way to see improvement, because you're repeating a method of practice over and over, and since practice makes perfect, at the end of the day you should have a good image, right?
Wrong.
Well, for most people, including myself, this sadly doesn't always result in outstanding drawings. So today we're going to talk about the popular art advice just draw every day and why I find it counterproductive for artists, and how you can manipulate it to suit your goal, which is improving with your art. So if you're new to this channel and love listening to art commentary style videos or just videos talking about things happening within the art community, please subscribe to the channel and join the Discord server using the link in the description. Now let's talk about the first problem I have with drawing every day and why I don't think it's an ideal approach for beginner artists or even intermediate artists as well. Every time I hear or just see someone telling an artist to draw every day, they don't bother explaining to the artist about the basic fundamentals of art. They always just tell them to just draw or draw what you see, without properly explaining what the artist should look out for or how they should even approach the drawing to make their learning process faster. It's as if for some reason they just forget to mention that, just like every other skill, drawing and making good art involves a series of steps and checkboxes that are more like guidelines for the artist to follow, so their drawing looks like it makes sense, if that makes sense. In art, these guidelines are referred to as the fundamentals of art, which are basically the core principles that make up the foundation of learning art. And every single artist you have seen that has really good art has mastered and has a keen understanding of these fundamentals, which is why their images just look perfect every time you see them post something on social media. When I was drawing every day just blindly without following any specific routine that will help me improve, I noticed that my drawings looked like they were getting better because I was just focusing solely on copying exactly what I was seeing without really understanding what was happening in the image I was drawing from. The drawings always ended up lacking form and structure, and you could just tell that they still looked kinda amateurish. I mean, it's not like my drawings now have gotten far from that to me, but hey, at least there's some improvement, right? Every single time I tried to draw every day without really understanding what I was doing, I always ended up with horrible drawings after how many ever days I was drawing every day for. Now, I'm not saying the drawings were just garbage from the first day I started to the day I ended, but the margin of improvement I saw while drawing every day was just very small. I could have made that same amount of improvement if I didn't even draw every day and just drew whenever I felt like it. But what I did enjoy from drawing every day was the fact that it helped me build a habit of just discipline myself to draw something every day, even if it sucked, because given the slightest opportunity, I will definitely procrastinate and tell myself I would do it later. Which is why I think if you're still finding it hard to start drawing now, maybe you can start out with this simple class from the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is the biggest online learning community with thousands of online classes that cover a variety of topics including photography, music, productivity, and self-development. Personally, I'm trying my best to battle my toxic procrastination, so taking a class on productivity and time management seems like the best bet for me. The good folks at Skillshare want to help you become the best version of yourself, so they're giving 1 month free trial to the first 1,000 people that sign up. So head over to skillshare.com/Mohammed Agbadi and use code Mohammed Agbadi to start your free trial. All the links will be in the description, and thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now, this one is personally something I've always struggled with, and I still struggle with it from time to time. And I feel like other artists will probably relate to this as well. I am afraid of an empty page. I'm afraid of a blank piece of paper, a blank canvas, every single time I'm about to start a drawing. I look at the empty page and I just get scared. I just get scared and anxious for some reason, and I immediately just start forgetting that I kind of know how to draw. And then I have to remind myself that it's just an empty sheet of paper, and the worst that can happen is I'll probably just make a drawing that I don't like, and I can always throw it away or delete it, which is fine and normal. But the initial first 20 seconds of me staring at that blank page trying to figure out what I'm about to draw is torture every single time. And this always made me nervous when I was drawing every day and trying to fill up my sketchbooks, because every time I turned the page, I wanted to make the drawing on that page better than the previous page. So I was just putting this huge expectation on myself to do better, which seems like a good thing if you actually know what you're doing. But as a beginner artist who clearly had no idea what they were doing, I always ended up getting so stressed out and frustrated with everything I was drawing, because my drawings were not meeting the expectations I was setting for myself. And after turning each page of the sketchbook, the drawing still looked the same for the most part, with very little signs of improvement, if there were any at all. I ended up getting burnt out and losing motivation to draw, and every single time I saw my sketchbook, I had to look the other way and pretend I didn't even see it, because I was so disappointed with myself and my art, and I was comparing my art with all the other amazing artists I was seeing on Facebook and DeviantArt. The anxiety of me not growing at the rate at which I thought I should be growing at, and then me always comparing my work constantly, just made the entire experience of drawing every day for me very unpleasant. And instead of enjoying it and feeling inspired, I slowly drew myself every day into an art block. Totally not healthy at all. I know some people might not like to hear this, but you really should rest sometimes. Drawing every day might seem fun and challenging, or refreshing even to some people, and you can't wait to fill out the next 3 sketchbooks you just bought. And I get it. I get excited too when I see a little bit of progress in my work, and it makes me want to draw more. I've noticed that every time I take a break from drawing and just take a few days to rest and not thinking about making drawings and just do other things like watch movies I enjoy, play a little bit of video games, or do the forbidden act of going outside and touching grass, every single time I do any one of these activities and then come back into making art, my drawings looked better. I don't know how, but they just looked better, and I just felt much more motivated to get back into making art. Taking breaks is just a good way to relax and refresh your body, and every time I take a break from making art, I still find a way to consume things that will help me improve my art, which could be just looking at other artists' work I enjoy, watching a few tutorials here and there, watching movies, and just doing things that help build my visual library. So when I'm back to drawing, I have new references and ideas to pull from at the back of my head. So if you haven't taken a break in a long time, this is probably your sign to go and take some rest. You can thank me later. So let's assume we have 2 beginner artists that are starting out learning art at the same time. One is drawing every day and just filling up their sketchbook, making squiggly lines and ovals and just drawing what they see, while the other one is focused on learning the fundamentals and is practicing bit by bit daily and using what they learned to draw images. If both of these artists are to draw every day over a period of 6 weeks, at the end of this experiment, which one of these artists do you think would have improved the most? In my opinion, the artists that focused on learning the fundamentals and applying them in their work will have improved at a much faster rate than the artist that was just drawing every day for the sake of drawing every day. Focusing on the wrong things or sticking to an inefficient daily drawing routine for beginners can sometimes yield subpar results in your art. I think beginner artists should aim for a balanced approach that combines both regular practice with opportunities for rest, reflection, and exploration. Quality should always take precedence over quantity. An artist should remember that their artistic journey is a marathon, not a sprint. By striking this balance, beginner artists can avoid the potential pitfalls of drawing every day and cultivate a more sustainable and fulfilling artistic practice. I think it will be weird and inconsiderate of me to end this video without telling you what to do if you're drawing every day and not seeing any results, or you're just feeling unmotivated with your art and feel like quitting. Please don't. Just take a break and then come back and try to approach art the same way I did when I saw that I wasn't improving. If you're an absolute beginner, it might seem to be a little bit harder than someone who has a little bit of experience, but trust me, it works. First thing you want to do is to figure out what you want to do with your art. And what I mean by that is, what kind of art do you want to create? Do you want to draw characters? Do you want to paint portraits and draw beautiful dynamic figures? Or are you interested in drawing backgrounds and painting landscapes and scenes with beautiful concept art? Or are you just interested in drawing cute girls for Instagram? That's fine too. That's cool. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Figure out what type of art you want to create and then find artists that make similar art to what you want to create and follow all of them. The next part is you're going to study their work, and you're also going to study from books and from life, but not all at the same time. That will just be overwhelming. Now, after you figure out what type of art you want to make, you'll want to break down the fundamentals of art into different categories and follow them based on what type of art you want to focus on. If you're interested in drawing characters, you should prioritize studying the fundamentals in this order. And if you're interested in drawing backgrounds, you should prioritize them this way instead. Doing it this way makes you focus on your strengths and ideally what you want to draw in the long run. So instead of wasting time learning things you might not end up using immediately, you'd want to start off with learning what is important to you for now and leave the rest for later. Next step is how you'll actually put this into practice. Personally, what worked for me is I broke down each of these subtopics into different weeks, and then I took time studying each of them slowly from books and reference. When drawing from books, I read all the pages, then tried to replicate each of the drawings on every page from start to finish. Then I tried to recreate the drawing without looking at the book on the next page. Doing this just forced me to try and remember what it is I learned in the previous page, and then if I failed to draw it close to what it was, I'll keep on practicing that till I was able to draw it off head. It's basically just like cramming, but for art instead of exams. I also like to focus on starting my drawings using simple shapes, which is just something I personally prefer. But you can draw however you like. I just prefer using shapes since they are easy to remember and they make drawing the figure in 3-dimension and perspective so much easier once you remember the shape. I usually like to focus on one topic at a time when learning, and then I move on to the next topic once I see some improvement with my work or I feel I'm able to remember the drawings I've been practicing without looking at the book. I also made an entire video just talking about this and breaking down the fundamentals of art, so I'll suggest you go watch it after watching this one if you want to hear me just expand more on this topic. I'll leave a link to the video in the description for you to check it out. I also made the video like 2 years ago or something like that, so I may look different slightly, but the info in the video is still valid. Now, this process is going to take some time and it may feel strange when you start it out because you're going to make so many mistakes and you're just going to feel like you're stuck. But trust me, just stick with it and just trust the process, and by the end of it, you would have learned the fundamentals of art and you'll be so much better than if you were just drawing randomly without putting in any thought into it. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video or learned something from it, please leave the video a like and share the video with a friend so they might learn something as well, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. With all that being said, I will see you pretty penguins in the next video. Bye.